For Corey Whitaker, June 13th was the best of times and the worst of times. The week before, he'd been promoted to the CEO position of Owit Hospitality Services, a Fortune 500 hotel and restaurant enterprise, following an agonizing search process, during which he never knew whether he'd be elevated or escorted to the elevator. Yesterday morning, the company's stock price had tanked, following an analyst's report that productivity and service quality problems threatened the very viability of the enterprise. Whitaker had himself only recently become aware of the magnitude of these challenges, since the previous CEO hoarded information like an old pit bull guarding his bone. As executive vice president for marketing, Whitaker was kept out of the loop when it came to operating issues. He smiled and shook his head. The fact that he was out of the loop was undoubtedly why the board had turned the mess over to him. Whitaker was at the airport, waiting for the sunrise flight from Baltimore to LaGuardia. Later that morning, he had a meeting with the company's bankers, who wanted to know what he was going to do to protect their money. He tried to concentrate on the spreadsheets that just the day before had been loaded onto his laptop, but was distracted by the familiar voice of Jack Stallings, business correspondent for CNN, projecting from the television suspended from the ceiling several rows down. As if the poor economy wasn't already clobbering business travel, tourism, and eating out, it now appears that Owit Hospitality has shot itself in both feet, with customer satisfaction and revenue per employee both taking big hits in the last quarter. You know, we'd solve this economic crisis in about a week if Congress would pass a law saying that these overpaid suits had to get out of their cushy offices, make them all get out on the front lines and do some honest work for a change. Corey hadn't noticed the man when he'd sat down next to him. He was wearing a New York Yankees baseball cap and tinted eyeglasses. Whitaker guessed him to be about 40. He was thin and wiry, with the intense face of a snake eyeing a mouse. Let 'em get their hands dirty. See what it's like to do some real work for a change. Whitaker closed up his laptop. He didn't want anyone to see the numerical train wreck represented by that spreadsheet, then self-consciously adjusted his necktie. I'm sure a lot of those suits, as you call them, would love nothing better than to get out of their offices and not have to deal with bankers, investors, customers, and competitors. Of course, with no suit tending to these things, it wouldn't be long before nobody had any real work to do. The man in the Yankees cap stared hard at Whitaker. Well, maybe if they get out of their offices and talk to people, treat us like adults who might have good ideas and not like children who can't even be trusted to show up on time for work, they might find the ideas they need to fix their businesses have been there all the time, right under their noses. Acres of diamonds and all that, you know?